Okay, here are your notes. We're still in Unit 3, which is the fraction unit. In your book, it's section 5.4. And the topic today is multiplying. We're going to learn or review, for some of you, how to multiply fractions and mixed numbers. Multiplying fractions and mixed numbers. Alright? Multiplying has different rules than adding and subtracting. So the first thing you need to know, you do not need a common denominator. You do not need a common denominator. So that makes it a little easier. When you add and subtract, you do need a common denominator. It's a little extra work. Multiplication is not necessary anymore. You can go ahead and find a common denominator if you want, but it's extra work, so I wouldn't recommend it. The next thing that makes multiplication a little special is that you can and should reduce early. Don't wait till the end to reduce. Reduce before you multiply. Now this is only allowed in a multiplication problem. Alright, so you can't or you don't need a common denominator, and you should reduce early. Alright, I'm going to try to explain why the rules for multiplication work. Drawing a little picture. Alright, let's start with a problem. Let's start with 1/2 times 3/4. And let's relate it to a candy bar. So draw a candy bar. Basically draw a rectangle. Mine's a Snicker bar. And the first fraction there is half. And then the second fraction is 3/4. So times, a little word for times that might help is of. Of means the same thing as multiplication. So I want half of 3/4. So first I need 3/4. So I'm going to split the candy bar into 4 equal parts. And then I'm going to color 3 out of the 4. So here I'm coloring 3/4. So 1/4, 2/4. Alright, so there's 3/4. But apparently I don't get 3/4. I get half of 3/4. So I'm going to take that 3/4 and I'm going to cut it in half. So I'm going to cut that in half. So instead of getting the entire black part, I'm only going to get half of the black. So I'll color that blue. I'll take the bottom half. So the blue is what I really get. I took the black, which is 3/4 of the entire candy bar, and then I cut the 3 black pieces in half. What I end up with is 1, 2, 3 little pieces, and they're smaller than fourths. They're actually eighths, right? Because you have 1/8, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8. So these blue pieces, there's 3 of them, and they're eighths. So the answer is 3/8. When I take 3/4 of a candy bar and cut it in half, I'm left with 3/8. Alright, we're not going to want to draw pictures every time. So just notice, what did I do? I just have to really just multiply straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 4 is 8. That's all there is to it. Right straight across. Alright, let's summarize this. So there's 3 basic rules. Rule number 1. Rule number 1, just multiply straight across. Just multiply straight across. Multiply straight across. In other words, take the numerator times the numerator, right straight across. And take the denominator times the denominator. Top times top, bottom times bottom. No need for a common denominator. Rule number 2. You must change mixed numbers. You have to change the mixed numbers into fractions. Must change the mixed numbers into fractions. And I'll explain why in the next page. Rule number 3. Rule number 3, reduce early if possible. Reduce early if possible. Alright, so those are the 3 rules for multiplication. Just multiply straight across. Just go right straight across. You have to change mixed numbers into fractions. That's a must. And if possible, you should reduce early. Alright, let's try some examples. So here, let's go for an example. Actually, we'll do several examples. So the first one is going to be 4 2/3. We're going to multiply that by 3 1/6. Okay, on the previous slide, I told you must change them to improper. You must change the mixed numbers to fractions. So to do that, you start at the denominator, go 3 times 4 is 12, add 2 is 14. On the other one, you'll go 6 times 3 is 18, add the 1, 19. So here we go. 3 times 4 is 12, add the 2 is 14/3. And on the other one, you're going to go 6 times 3 is 18, add 1 is 19, and then it's 6th. Okay, so the reason you had to do that is because now you can just go top times top, bottom times bottom. Earlier, you had this big number here, this whole number in front. What do you do with that? So now it's easy. Top times top, bottom times bottom. But we can make it even easier. 14 times 19 is rather difficult to do in your head. So look at the numerator, both of them, and look at the denominator and look for common factors. So 14 is even. What goes into all even numbers? 2. 6 is also even. So it can be divided by 2. So here we go. This is what we're going to do. We're going to change it into one big fraction. Now instead of 14, we're going to relate it to a 2. We're going to divide it by 2 because it's even. So instead of 14, we're going to write 2 times 7. Then times the 19. Now underneath, we have a 3. We have a 3. So I'll write 3 times. Now 6 is even. And so it can be divided by 2. So 6, we're going to write 2 times 3. Now we can cancel. We can divide the top and the bottom by 2. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. So they cancel right out. So now, instead of multiplying 14 times 19, I only have to do 7 times 19. A little easier. And 7 times 19 is 133. And on the bottom, 3 times 3, 9. And there you have it. And that's the answer. And if you want to change it to mixed, you would just divide 133 divided by 9. It goes in there 14 times with 7 left over. So either one of those are fine. Alright, let's try another one. Number 2. 5 2/3 times 12. Alright, take the 5 2/3, change it to improper. So 3 times 5 is 15, add 2. 15 plus 2 is 17/3 times, and the 12, you can just write as 12 divided by 1. Alright, I do not need a common denominator. I'm just going to go straight across. 17 times 12 is kind of hard for me to multiply in my head. So I notice there's a 3 here. 12 can be divided by 3. So I'm going to rewrite the 12. Here we go. So instead of going just right straight across, I'm going to go 17 times, and now instead of 12, I'm going to write 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12, so I can write 3 times 4. Underneath, I'm going to keep the 3 times the 1. Ah, I can cancel, because 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then on the top, now I only have to go 17 times 4. 17 times 4 is 68. On the bottom, I just have a 1. And 68 divided by 1 is indeed 68. And that makes sense, because the original problem was 5 times 12. Well, actually more than 5 times 12. So yeah, 68 makes sense. Okay, we'll just try one more. So the third example would be negative 6 2/5. And we're going to multiply that by negative 2 1/4. Okay, you can't really go top times top, bottom times bottom because of these whole numbers. So change these to improper fractions. 5 times 6 is 30. Add 2 is 32. 32/5. Bring down the negative. Times. On the other one, 4 times 2 is 8. Add 1. That's 9/4. Don't forget the negative. Okay. Look at the numerators. 32. 32 can be divided by 4. And I have a 4 here. So instead of 32, I'm going to write 4, let's see here, 4 times 8. And then I still have, so that takes care of the 32, but I still have the 9, so I have to multiply by 9. And underneath I have a 5 times a 4. Now the negatives. All you really have to do is just kind of think about it here. What is a negative times a negative? Well, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive, so I don't really have to worry about them anymore. A negative times a negative is a positive, so I took care of that problem. I can cancel, which is dividing the top and the bottom, so 4 divided by 4 is 1. And I'll have my answer. 8 times 9, 72. Underneath, a 5. And there you go. If you want to change it to mixed, 72 divided by 5, it goes 14 times, and you'll with 2 left over. So either answer is good. All right, you know what? Let's try one more. Example number 4. Let's say you have negative 4 2/7, I'll go a little faster. Multiplied by 6 1/4. All right, change them to improper. 7 times 4 is 28. Add 2 is 30 over 7. Don't forget the negative. And in 6 1/4, you'll go 4 times 6 is 24, plus 1 is 25/4. Okay. Let's see here. Let's try to break it down. On the top, 30. 30 is even, can be divided by 2. 4 is even, it can be divided by 2. So let's start with the 30. 30 is 15 times 2. And then don't forget 25 still on the top. Underneath you have a 7, and 4 I'm going to write as 2 times 2. Now I can't forget about this negative, so let's think about it. What's a negative times a positive? A negative times a positive is a negative. So let's just deal with it there and put it at the end. Alright, I can cancel. 2 divided by 2 is 1. On the top, I'm left with 15 times 25, which is 375, but it's negative. And then on the bottom, 7 times 2 is 14. And there you have it. As a mixed number, it'd be negative 26 and 11/14. Either one's good. All right, I hope this is helpful.